We are live, Walk in Wisdom. I'm Joseph Cisneros, your host. I just wanted to welcome you today. I know usually on our live streams, we come in with a little bit of music and we come in with a little bit of time to just kind of hang out and let the chat get going and kind of let things air out. But this morning, we have a very special guest, a master of syncretism, a master of so many things. This gentleman has definitely studied and shown himself approved to teach the things that many of us don't understand, especially as many of you know. I had come out of the pastorate from a very large church organization, very popular church organization. And after seeing the deceptions that are being presented in the church, and then just the source bringing me guys like Santos and another gentleman, Seven Bomar. But Santos really has been key in pointing out so many things, so many correlations between scripture and many other religious writings, and how they point to the fact that the Christos is actually the anointing, and that anointing is available for each one of us. And so, again, I'm just going to kind of give the floor over to Santos. We've got a limited amount of time this morning. And so I'd love for him to just share and expound on his wisdom and gnosis of the Christ and the Chrism. And so, good morning, Santos. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Joseph. Pleasure to be here with you again.
So Santos, if you could just expound a little bit on the fact that the Christos, the anointing, really is available for each one of us, but as man always does, they've taken and they've making a religion. They've made a religion out of the anointing and the connection that we've actually got with our source creator. Can you tell us a little bit about what you know about the Christ and the Christos and the way that they have twisted that into a religion?
Yeah, well, they've literalized the scriptures, which is to debase the scriptures for the purpose of voiding them and making them empty and powerless over the soul of the individual. Christ is the universal spirit, the spirit of the universe, whereas Jesus is the soul of the universe. And it's staggering that the churches cannot recognize the difference between this. There's a clear difference between Christ and Jesus. Otherwise, why would Jesus himself say in the scriptures, as a literary figure, of course, not as a literal figure, because it's all literary. In Matthew chapter 23, Jesus, speaking to his disciples, says, "Do not call anyone teacher here on the earth, for one is your teacher, the Christ." So here you have a scriptural reference where the two entities are clearly separated when Jesus is speaking of the Christ in the third person and not as himself, because they are different. They are two different names. They are two different things. And it's staggering that no religion recognizes this at all whatsoever. Christ is the spirit in you. The spirit is one. It's the nervous system in the body. The nervous system is the Christ. The blood is Jesus, the soul. The soul is sevenfold, 7 chakras. It is the vehicle in which the body, or rather the body holds this vehicle of 7 energies, 7 electrical energies, which is called the soul. And those are your 7 chakras, your subtle body. You have a gross body and a subtle body. The subtle body is the soul. And so what they are hiding from literalizing and diminishing the true value of the scriptures, is the truth of how we can become Christ's, to ascend and transcend the physical nature, the carnal mind. This is what transcending means, to transcend the limitations of the carnality. Whereas ascending, this is another word used quite often in the process of Christianizing and deifying, divinizing our souls and coming to the light, bringing our souls to the light and restoring our original power. So how to do this is to ascend, and that means to ascend the chrism, or the Christic fluids within. We have been allocated a certain amount of cerebrospinal fluid, just as we've been allocated a certain amount of breaths. Once those breaths expire, we expire. Once we consume all of our cerebrospinal fluids, and through licentious living and bad sexual practices, i.e. ejaculating our vital fluids, we die. That's the reason why people die of old age, because they dry up. They use all of their oils, all of their chrism, and they lose their charisma because they just disrespect their own living vital elixir, which was granted to them in short measure. We only have a certain amount of those fluids, and once you drain those out, you die. That's the reason and the cause of death. And this is why young boys and young girls are encouraged to have promiscuous sex. You know, these days, a lady in her early 20s has had 30, 40 partners already. And she has all of their DNA through the saliva and through the sperm. She has all of their demons, hormones, ancestral diseases, herpes, gonorrhea, syphilis, spiritual diseases, blood, parasites. She's been collecting, and they've been collecting all of that DNA from all of their partners, and they will stay with them till the end of time. And the moment you kiss someone even, you have downloaded all of their information into you, and their viruses, like in a computer, are now operating in your system. How dangerous it is to be promiscuous and polyamorous. They teach this to children these days. You know, girls are already having sex 12, 13, 14, swapping DNA. By the time they're 18, 19, where they should have had one partner and integrity, they've lost all of their integrity. They're like a company car, you know. A company car gets driven by everybody who wants to go for a ride in it. And the car just accepts them all. Bad drivers, good drivers, dangerous drivers, harmful drivers. Usually when you go and buy a car, you look for a used car that's only had one owner, you know, a one owner car. So you know that car has got a lot of integrity. You don't go looking for a car that's had the most owners, because you know those they break down more. They don't have integrity. Cars have souls. This is why people call their car by name, because they know their car's name and they know how their car thinks. Every car made of atoms has a soul and a spirit. And so, you know, these children are encouraged to be little company cars, you know, and those cars, they're useless. You can't do anything with them. They're gone. They're done, you know. They've been raped. And this is what women and men like. They like their one-night stands. They like their polyamorous, promiscuous, pornographic encounters. And this is where the parable of the foolish virgin comes in. They've squandered all their oils. They're done. There's no more spirituality. There's no more integrity. They've lost their souls. You know, you can lose your soul just by kissing someone who is not a good person, because you now have downloaded your saliva into them. You know, you've had 40, 50 partners, right? Well, they're all gone off with your saliva and your DNA, and whatever behavior they get involved with, they drag you in with it as well, because your energy has gone with them. You have given a part of your body, which is connected to your soul, to them. Good luck to you. I hope that those people will treat your DNA really, really well, because this is how souls are lost. This is why the scriptures say fornicators and people who live loosely will not inherit God's kingdom. You will not inherit God's kingdom if you are loose living. You know, these days women like to use the expression, I'm independent. Ooh, what does that mean? You know, I was told that once by a young lady. You know, she said, well, I'm independent. In other words, I'm a loose woman and anyone can ride me like a company car, sweetheart. And that's how I fly, you know. As soon as they use expressions like that, I know that they've lost their soul. You know, it's sad.
Well, you know,
But
Santos, I think that's a really good point, and I want to give you the floor as much as possible, because you're going great, exactly down the path that I was hoping we would go, in showing the importance of holding up those fluids and storing that oil, the double portion. Right? But I also wanted to touch on the fact, as you're talking, my mind is going, and the source is just telling me to touch on this, the fact that there is so much false light out there, and the fact that there is such thing as a black tantra as well, that people are using this false light of manifestation through masturbation, to draw people into this problem of wasting their fluids. And you know, so if you could possibly just take a couple of minutes to touch on that, and the fact that you know, that there is a lot of information out there regarding the sexual power and sex magic, especially right now in this day and age. And you know, can you touch on some of the dangers and the actual truth in that regarding white tantra as well?
well, first of all, masturbation is per se is not wrong in itself.
Right.
It's you know, children will have sexual urges and impulses, and these need to be expressed. You cannot ignore them and avoid them and block them and shut them out. What they need to be taught in the seminaries, this is why young men are sent to seminaries to learn about Christ, to learn about what to do with their semen and how valuable it is. They should be instructed. It's easy. In 5 minutes, you can instruct a young 10-year-old, 9-year-old, 14-year-old. The first time I experienced an orgasm was at 17. Now, that by today's standards is very, very, very late. You know, most of the guys I know, they were, you know, experiencing orgasm, ejaculations, you know, before 10. You know, so I was very late, and I'm glad, because I had pure energy up until 17, pure, strong, and so what is missing is the instruction on how not to ejaculate and how to implode the orgasm. You know, you don't even need an orgasm. You know, you don't need to, because when you learn how to do white tantra, from the moment you begin intimacy with your loyal partner, you are feeling the same intense and beautiful energy that you would in an orgasm anyway. See, what you're doing with White Tantra is you're building up the energy of the orgasm so as not to have it at just a certain time of the day when you're in your privacy and intimate with your partner. So you can have it from the waking hours till when you go to sleep. So what you're doing is you're putting money in your piggy bank. You're putting sexual energy and you're storing it. You're building it up. The moment you discharge it, you've discharged every single ounce, every bit of money you've got stored in the bank, in your piggy bank, gone, wiped, zero. When you do not have the ejaculation and even the orgasm, it's okay if you want to learn how to do sustained internal orgasms up the spine. That's beautiful. People choose to do that. I do sometimes I don't, because I don't need it. For me, the intimacy, the moment I'm intimate, that's it. I'm in orgasm mode. And from the moment I wake up now, I have that bliss. That's what bliss is. It's bliss. And so the danger is when you discharge it, not only will you not be forgiven and shut out of heaven, possibly forever, if not for a couple of 1,000 years of reincarnating and looping around in this hellish plane of pleasure and pain. But you can escape all this just with 5 minutes of teaching. And every time you are intimate with your partner, you are increasing that energy in you, building up your piggy bank of orgasmic bliss, and no one will wipe that smile off your face. You will forever have that sustained, blissful, orgasmic energy, because that's what God wants you to have. That's why he teaches us in the scriptures, the Creator, how to treat sexual energy correctly. It tells you loose living will get you to hell. Gluttony will get you to hell. Murder, all of these things. And it's doing it not because the Creator wants us to have a boring life and to deprive ourselves of anything. No, quite the opposite. The Creator wants us to have the best of the best. And there is a way to do this. And it is set in law. Some people see it as dogma and opinion, and they see it in the wrong light. They don't understand that we are the writers of the scriptures from days when we were much more conscious in golden ages. Now we have forgotten this wisdom, and we read it and we literalize it. We see it like a Santa Claus story. We tell our children that Santa Claus is literally coming down the chimney to bring presents. Well, this is a lie, because we know that Santa Claus, which is the same archetype as Jesus, you see, Jesus is Santa Claus because he comes down from the holy claustrum, just under the cerebrum, bringing oils down to the sacrum. The sacrum means sacred, and this is the chimney of Santa Claus, of Jesus, of Jacob, Jacob's ladder, Jack and the Beanstalk, etc. All of the stories are talking about this chimney, and you go up and down this chimney. Ones who are descending are wasting their fluids like the prodigal son, sleeping with prostitutes and harlots and drinking with intoxicated drunkards. And then he comes to his senses and he returns and goes back up to his father's kingdom. He went down in the first place. So you see a ladder of descending and ascending. And you see, most people won't bother with ascending. It's too difficult, It's too difficult. They're drunk. They're on drugs. They're excited because they've gone out to a music festival and oh, there's drugs and ecstasy, and or look at this pretty girl and that pretty guy, and let's take them home and, swallow their DNA, and I'll give them mine, and they can go off with it and do whatever they want with it. They can go killing people and implicate my soul. And then when the day comes when your body is exhausted and your spirit is about to depart, and you think, oh, wow, I'm going to be released from this hellish fleshly plane where I do eating and pooing forever, because that's what we're doing down here. We're eating delicious food and making stinky poo. And while we're doing that, we're in the land of pleasure and pain. And so when we think we're going to this unconditioned, unlimited place, oh no, you'll find that you're going somewhere else, and it's a sad place, because you go to a place that is in harmony with your behavior and disrespect towards the Chrism. There's only one thing we need to do, and that is to respect the elixir of life that is in us, the Holy Chrism.
Now, Santos, I think that you're touching on some really important stuff with the days that we're living in right now. And we know that in the scriptures, it talks a lot about, as in the days of Noah, and genetic mutations, genetic manipulation, the defiling of all flesh, so to speak, as it's written. And so with this transferring of DNA, and a lot of the studies I've done in physics shows that DNA can actually be mapped by the atom. The atom can actually map the DNA, and that there is no time. It literally tears a hole through what we consider the time continuum, in the sense that the DNA, once extracted from a person, still responds in real time to the emotional state of that person. And so with what's going on with all of this promiscuity and the pushing of the liberalism as far as sexuality, and like you said, spreading the seed around, and just that this is being touted as a good thing. Do you see that what is the hope for breaking those ancestral traumas, for changing the DNA, and for restoring that chrism, restoring that oil for those who have been living that life, that promiscuous life, the ones who have had many partners, the ones who have spilled their seed multiple times a day, having some kind of a porn addiction, the ones that have really been stuck in that carnal living of wasting the oil, wasting the seed? What hope is there, Santos? How do we restore that when we've lived that kind of life?
Well, you just have to start living the right life. That's it. You start yesterday and you never get off the road. That's all you've got. That's the only choice you've got. Through your diligence and your devotion and discipline, the gods will look down and see this, and eventually you will be saved. But there's a difference between those who are doing it in ignorance and those who have chosen to do it after having known the true way. There's a big difference. Once you have learned to practice the perfect matrimony, and then you decide, no, that's not for me, I'm going back to my former state of disrespecting the chrism, and encouraging partners to ejaculate and have sloppy sex, as they call it. Well, this is indecent behavior, and obviously you've made a choice. When you make that choice, you're slapping the gods in the face. There's it's no use being pretending to be something that you think other people will impress other people. Like I can see through people who claim to be yoga experts, and they're into meditation, and they have the truth, and they're into astrology or whatever, and they think they're quite good because they tout these things, but they're ejaculators. So either you have the whole package and you're doing everything, or it's nothing. You can't be half pregnant. You can't be 99% pregnant and 1% not pregnant. It's so you see people who they're pretenders, and really it just hurts them, because they look ridiculous. The true ones can see through them, and it's sad, because they're just like shadow people. And so, but even those ones can be saved. It won't be in this lifetime, but maybe in another couple of million or something. But hey, that's their choice. You make your own bed, you sleep in it. It's simple as that. I've made my choice since 2012, and I have never, gone against that. I made my choice in 2007 that I wouldn't eat flesh again, and I've never done that because I never will. So as I go, my eyes open and I awaken to certain things that I still need to improve, because I'm not perfect and no one is. But the things I practice are in knowledge, and the things that I'm doing in ignorance, once I become aware of those, and then I upgrade those, you see, put on the new personality is what the scripture says. Put away your old practices,
Yes.
and put on the new. Clothe yourself with the Christ. Christ means consciousness, not awareness. Big difference between awareness and consciousness. For instance, a lizard is aware of its surroundings. It's aware of its predators. It's aware of its prey. And so it's always looking around 360 degrees. It's aware of its surround and habitat, but it's not conscious. It doesn't know who Leonardo da Vinci is. It doesn't know that the air is made of oxygen and nitrogen, what have you, or conscious rather, cognizant. It has no cognizance. It's aware. It's instinctual. So when you become cognizant of certain ignorance that is in you and darkness, you eliminate this, you see. And through the process of elimination, because as you go through life and you practice certain things, you get to see who you are not, you see. I've tried the promiscuous lifestyle, and I found that that's who I am not, so I don't do it. I've tried, certain drugs, and I didn't like them, and I said to myself, that's not for me, And so, should I ever go back to that? Well, I will fall from grace, because I've worked hard to find this condition that I'm in now, or this state.
Right.
It's like a 4-year-old child. He's got his 4-year-old toys, but his 8-year-old brother, he laughs at his 4-year-old brother's 4-year-old toys, which he used to have when he was 4. And his 12-year-old brother, he's laughing at both the 8 and the 4-year-old, because he's got different toys. And his daddy, in his early 30s, he laughs at his 3 sons and thinks, look at that, they get entertained by these funny little toys. Me, I've got my motorbike and my sailboat, and he's got his toys in his 30s. But when he gets to 60, you'll find that some of those toys will be displeasing to him as well, So we shed our behavior from years gone by. We shouldn't go back to that like a dog to its vomit, as the scriptures say. Like the wife of Lot, she was already out of Sodom and Gomorrah. She was in the hills. She was running, safe. The fire and sulfur was nowhere near her. But something in her heart said, oh, yes, but I'm comfortable now. It was really nice and comfortable down there in Sodom and Gomorrah. There was all kinds of licentious behavior. The moment I wanted to be, sexual and feel good, I could just, go and find one of my polyamorous friends. And so she turned back, and she turned into a pill of salt. So the lessons, they're all there. They're loud and clear. The Bible's there to protect us and help us. It's our roadmap to salvation. But a lot of people don't even want it. I've seen syncretists that were fighting on my left and on my right as well. I've seen them just drop off. Some have gone back to the promiscuity, and they're as comfortable and happy as pigs in shit now. Because that's how they're comfortable. It's too much effort to be in the light and to be pure. Some have gone back to eating carcasses. From a vegan lifestyle. I've seen these great luminous beings that I fought with in this war, and they're just dropping off, But at the same time, new ones are being added,
Right.
And new ones are coming to syncretism and bringing light and keeping it strong. Together we keep what I've found is that together we are keeping the light shining. It doesn't depend on me or him or her. So if you look around and you see your friends dropping off and going back to their former ways, don't be disheartened. The battle will be won because new ones will be added. There's always a certain number that stays loyal. And of that number, some fall out, but other ones come back in. And then when the day comes, as Jesus said, no one knows the hour or the day, but it will come as a thief in the night when you are least expecting it. And when it does, that's it. Shuts the doors, like Noah had to shut the doors, didn't he? And then when the rain started coming, everybody started knocking on that door. Noah, you've got a pretty big boat here. Can you just edge that door open a little bit and let me squeeze in there, please, buddy? I'm a good bloke. No, that once the door's shut, it's sealed. That's why the song, "Oh Lord, I want to be in that number," because if you ain't in that number of the 144,000, well, you're in the wrong crowd, and people love to go with the crowd because everybody's doing it, and it's easy money, it's easy living, it's loose. You go to a pickup place, you take someone home, you get your rocks off.
Yeah.
DNA collecting company cars is what I call them.
Wow.
Everybody can go for a ride on them.
Wow.
Giddy up, hop on. As long as you're handsome, you can take me home.
And so with that being said, Santos, what do you see? I mean, we are in a very nothing new under the sun, but we can sense that we are in a time of shifting. And I know that you are a master of astrology as well. And so with the cosmological clock turning and the time that we're in, and you see this trend of people doing exactly what you just explained and going back to the vomit. My wife and I were just talking about that it seems so easy for people to come to these truths, right? To receive them as truth, and then to turn right back and go back into the church and go back into these religious tradition practices and basically put themselves back in bondage. And plug back into the matrix. And so with the time that we're in, and we see this happening, this tremendous amount of truth going forth and being brought into the light, all of these deceptions, the deceptions in the church, the deceptions in politics, the deceptions in Hollywood, all of these things that have been pulled over the people's eyes for centuries are now coming to light. Do you sense that we are in that time that Christ was speaking of, that we're close to that judgment day?
Oh yeah, well, it's upon us right now. I mean, not only has AI got all of our information, the AI is really the most revealing thing to help us to understand how the universe works. The eyes of the universe have always been upon us, recording every action and deed that we've ever done, which everybody will know one day anyway. So, judgment is it's in the air. We've already been judged because we've done what we've done. And whatever we've done, is the currency that we bring into the next world. So promiscuous living, stealing, cheating, hating, all of that, it's our currency. That's where you're at. And you've judged yourself because you've done those very things. So it's not about standing before a throne and a list of things against and for you are read out, and you have your accuser and prosecutor and defender there, etc. Yes, that's how the Egyptians painted it in the halls of Amentet, that Osiris will judge you and Horus will intercede on your behalf to beg for mercy, etc. And then others will be called to, give reference and character witness for you or against you. But that's not literal. That's talking about you, and your character witnesses are your deeds. Your accuser is your conscience. Your defender is your heart and the good things that you've done. So it's all happening within your own cosmos. You are your own judge, and any deviation from the light path and disrespect of the Chrism, that's it. You've already judged yourself. It's a done deal. So how to recover from that is only by getting on the path and waiting your turn in cycles of necessity to be lifted up out of condition. It's all very simple. It's all, we've mired ourselves with these bodies by choosing to have bodies. And why did we choose to have bodies? Well, due to lust. It's all sexual. Even the scriptures, even about Kronos, the god of time, it says, for one reason and one reason alone, you created the universe, because of your own desire for lust. And that's Satan. It was all about sex, because Saturn is hermaphrodite, like Mercury. Saturn is a hermaphrodite. It's very, very bisexual, and it's the god of duality, redshift, blue shift, in particular redshift. So that's what Saturn denotes, and redshift, blue shift is sexuality. So, and there's nothing wrong at all with that. You did the right thing, because we all express ourselves sexually and enjoy it. It's just that we haven't learned how to do it correctly so that we can ascend and not descend. It's a vehicle for either way. Celibacy is the vehicle for not ascending and not descending. It's just staying stagnant. You're not going anywhere. You're still going to be reincarnating. You will not liberate yourself through celibacy. There's no way. You actually have to use the sexual vehicle, but you have to do it correctly. And this is where the masters are the only ones who succeed, because many try and fail. They don't have it in them. It's too hard. The master has to control his sexual urges, even through experiencing and fulfilling the sexual urges and expressing them. So you still have to be Saint Michael and Saint George and control that serpent. It's like a spring. It's a coil coiled down at the bottom of the spine. And once you start stimulating it down below in the second sacral chakra, which has 6 petals, 6 in Latin is sex, sex, then that serpent can come up very, very quickly, especially when you ejaculate, and that loss of electrical discharge is devastating for the human organism. It's death. Remember, the scripture says, the day you eat from that fruit, you will positively die. And that's what happens. Young men, young women, they go and watch MTV and they see all these floozy little company car DNA collecting type girls telling them to masturbate and go with Tom a little bit, go with Dick and Harry, all these delicious, handsome, muscly looking men. You can go with this one and that one, and tomorrow you can have another one and have some fun. Girls just want to have fun. Yeah, they do. and the highway to hell is paved with good intentions and a lot of fun, you know.
Good.
So yeah, so what happens now is they are learning how to abuse and invert the sexual energy rather than use it for transcending and descending. Those two words are key here, Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to understand the difference between transcending and ascending. Transcending is to transcend your ego, your carnal mind. And it wants this and it wants that and it thinks it's this and it thinks it's that. I'm a doctor, I'm a musician,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. All the stories, you know. You have to transcend that noisy mind. And then you have to ascend. And that's a soul thing. It's not a mental thing. Ascending is about the soul, ascending the Christic fluids up the ladder and ascending it in quality. You know, whereas transcension or transcendence is like a quantum thing, not a qualitative.
Mm.
And so this would be the key. The key would be to transcend the lower limitations of the carnal mind, the ego, the lustful mind, and to ascend the oils, ascend the frequency of the oils, the Christic oils in you. Colossians 1:27, the Christ in you. Why did the Apostle Paul often refer to the Christ in you? Because he was trying to teach that the light is in you. And we are here to activate our light bodies and to make a light body of such excellence so that it will glow with golden light. Gold is the good light. Good is God, you see. And that is the goal, to have golden light. And if you don't reach that goal and kick that goal, then you will have perhaps red light. You see, a lot of people these days, you can see their red auras. It's very red.
Mm-hmm.
I can sense them. I can't see them, but I can sense them. It's very, very fleshly. It's like red meat, red
Mm-hmm.
blood. I smell the blood. I smell the convoluted blood of their polyamorous sexual depravity. You know, you can just tell they ooze this lustful, you know, energy. It's so demonic. It's awful and it's unbearable. I'm in Miami at the moment, you know, and I'm getting to see a lot of Miami. I go to Wynwood, the Arts Centre. I go to South Bank, South Beach. I've been there to a few places, restaurants and places that my friends here take me to, just so that we can see what Miami's got. And it's interesting, you know. I see that people, rather than being inspired, they are being tempted. You know, I'll go out and I'll see a beautiful woman, and I'll be inspired by that beautiful woman. You know, she's made so stupendously by the Creator, beautiful curves, beautiful face. I will appreciate that woman,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but I will not desire that woman. There's a big difference. Jesus says if you look at a woman to have passion for her, it's better to cut your eyes out.
Mm.
See? So if I see a beautiful woman walking on the other side of the street, I'm going to have a second look. I'm definitely going to have a second look because they're rare, you know.
Right.
And I don't care if I get caught looking because I don't have a desire. I don't want her. It's like when I go to a sweets store. I'm going to
Mm.
look at all the sweets and get inspired by them, but I'm not going to be tempted by them.
Right.
They inspire me. You know, the compliments to the chef. You know, these are great looking sweets, but they've got aspartame in them. They've got dairy in them. They've got sugar for candida and everything toxic. They look great. They inspire me. They sort of, you know, give me an inspiration, but they don't tempt me. I don't desire them, and I'll never take one of those things home ever. Not going to put that in my body. So, you know, this is where the difference lies. You know, inspiration, not temptation, appreciation for women,
Right.
not desire for women. you know. There's a big difference. Some people, they kind of hide they're more discreet when they perv on other people. That's what I call it, perving. They kind of do it, less subtly. I don't, because I know that I don't have a desire. I don't want them, but I'll just look, because I look at good-looking animals. I look at good-looking cars. I look at good-looking men. I look at good-looking women.
Mm-hmm.
But I love looking at Ferraris, but I don't want one. I don't desire one. Why would I want a Ferrari? They're just useless. They're just like, you can only have one passenger in it. You can't go to the mountains and drive with them because they'll get stuck. I don't desire one, but I love looking at them. They're just so sexy. And so, some people, on the other hand, want a Ferrari. They want this, they want that. They just want, because they're materialists. So when they look at, other people, it's because of lust and desire. Whereas I know me, I know who I am, and I know that I've never done that, because I've never been seduced by a woman, and I've never seduced a woman. I don't use those tactics. When I was younger, it used to give me a lot of heartache, because, all my friends would get girlfriends easily, whereas for me it took like 6 months. It was a whole process. I had to conquer her, and I had to know that she was conquering me with her talents. I didn't just want a girl for sex. I wanted someone to talk to. I wanted her to be artistic. I wanted her to understand my choice of music and like it. I wanted her to understand my philosophies and appreciate it. I wanted her to respect me for my ethics and my values and my principles and my opinions, etc. I didn't want to just say, hey, you're good looking, let's go home, and like my friends did. And, when you're young, that kind of gives you a heartache. But, hey, does that worry me now? No, I was protected. I have my integrity now. I don't have her DNA and that loose woman. And, now I go and look at those women and see what they've done with their lives. And I see that they're haggard. They're
Right.
like in their 40s, and they're wrinkly, and they're old, and they're gone. They're shot. There's no integrity. They sound like they're stupid. They
Mm-hmm.
sound like, a chatterbox. They've got so much mixed DNA in them that they don't even know who they are anymore. They look in the mirror and they can't identify with anything there. They have to pile the makeup on. They have to, take drugs, and I'm clean. And I've got all my integrity. I know who I am. I have syncretism. I'm ascending. I feel great. I'm healthy. I have no diseases. I have friends all around the world who are the most beautiful of souls. And, my syncretism downloads keep coming on a daily basis without fail. And you can only get that by having integrity and by not loose living. You have to live by principles,
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I think that those are just excellent points in the time that we're living in. And I think that, Santos, I know we're on a limited time today, and so I'd love to have you back in the future regarding just all the many things that you spoke about just in your last statement, with the influences of the candida. Many people aren't aware that they have parasites and the influences that these parasites have on them. But man, what you're talking about with the spilling of the seed and the holding it back is exactly what I was hoping to get to, for people to understand and really understand the dangers of this culture that has been just completely it's flourished in the church. This church culture regarding sin and being able to go and do these things and just be covered by the blood of Jesus, and not have to worry about their own giving an account of their own deeds. And so I think that man, I don't know, I have a lot of questions. Santos, I know that you said we're probably going to be close around 9 for you having to step out. And so I did want to get to a couple of questions, if you don't mind. I know I'm not going to spend a lot of time in the chat, but I did see a couple of interesting questions here regarding your take on yoga. if it is beneficial, or I mean, just my little 2 cents is anything can become an idol, and even those things that are positive for us can become an idol. And so, what is your take on yoga? Is it beneficial, and is there any drawbacks to the practice of yoga?
Oh, yes, it's beneficial. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yoga is yoking with your theurgic nature, God. So as you express your body and stretch, you are treating your subtle body to a process which will ascend it. Yoga is all about ascending, but here's the thing. 99.99999% of people who practice yoga also practice Black Tantra. They go away from their 2 hours of yoga in the morning, and then they hook up with their polyamorous partners and ejaculate. And they've zeroed out all the good. The moment you ejaculate, the very moment you've zeroed out your whole life and past lives, goodness, gone. You've wiped it. Just like, you're a millionaire one day, then your bank goes bankrupt and says, sorry, and it's gone. Just like in South Park, and it's gone. Where did it go? Oh, it's gone. You don't have any money in the bank. And that's just by one, not two or many, just one ejaculation, gone, zero. So your yoga, kiss it goodbye. Your astrology readings and and all these, anything you're doing, your career, whatever you're doing, just kiss it goodbye. That's how serious it is. The Zoroastrians, let me see if I can read. All right, let me just pull up something from the Zoroastrian religion.
Okay.
When the seminaries were founded, they were founded for the purpose of teaching young men and women how to utilize the semen in the seminaries. Now, of course, there's all sorts of pornography and pedophilia in them. The churches have just well, look, we know, don't we? We've seen what they do. They've corrupted everything. So what they did through their lust, of course, is they inverted all of this, where now young boys, if anything, are being raped rather than in the seminaries, rather than being taught, how to utilize their fluids. So this is what we're up against. There's always the counter argument, Joseph. The vegan lifestyle. There's always the ones who will come up against you and say, the counter argument is, you can eat as much flesh as you like, and it's good for you, etc. Well, people will get seduced by that, but not you and I, because we're not seducible. It's for the foolish ones who are going to be seduced, and the ones who are foolish, like the wife of Lot. So that's their business, but it's not ours. And so there's always the counter argument. There are guys out there who are teaching, to orgasm your way to heaven. Well, they're referring to the ejaculation, of course, and they're proud of being ejaculators. They think, modern science has proven that it's good for you, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well and good. Off you go. No worries. That's you can do that. Yeah. But I go for the ancient wisdom, because it was of a much finer and closer to source kind of wisdom. It was from the golden age. It was more complete, where we had much, much more consciousness. And here's what the Zoroastrians used to teach thousands of years ago. Here's Zoroaster says, if a man involuntarily emits his seed in a wet dream, etc., what is the penalty that he shall pay? Ahura Mazda answered, 800 stripes with the Asperhe Astra. 100 stripes with the Sraosho Karana. Zoroaster, if a man voluntarily emits his seed in masturbation, etc., what is the penalty for it? Ahura Mazda answered, for that deed there is nothing that can pay, nothing that can atone, nothing that can cleanse from it. It is a trespass for which there is no atonement forever and ever. So that's how serious it is. Our bodies have been made perfectly, and they are a vehicle for ascension and for power. How to lose that power is to disrespectfully discharge your semen, which is your brain fluid. It's what you will empty your brain when you discharge down below. And by doing such, you are disrespecting the gods, you are disrespecting your own body, and deserve to die. And you will. That's how you die. So we're all death-bound because we've all ejaculated, me including. Unfortunately, I probably won't be able to reverse it, and I will die. But I am reversing it somewhat. I've in the last 8 years since I've been practicing it, I've restored a lot of my health. I'm a much, much healthier person than I was 8 years ago. You can even see it on my face in my presentations. You can see I was grey looking and very, very sick from parasites. And so I've addressed the parasites, and I've made a lot of progress in my health. And, I'm watching wrinkly people in their 30s and 40s dying of, strokes, heart attacks, bowel cancer, and they're dropping off. And I'm still going. I'm 56, and I'm getting healthier and healthier and happier, and I feel great. Lately I've been traveling a lot, so I can't honestly say that I've been feeling the very, very best. Right now I'm very, very tired. I've had some itching come back. I had an incident in October where my life, someone tried to murder me, and a woman where I was staying with this woman, and he came with a baseball bat and knife, and as he threatened via text messages for weeks and weeks, which the police have, he came with his 2 weapons, and he died with his very 2 weapons within 5 minutes of trying to murder me and her, and he bled to death. So I don't see that as me being a hero trying to save this woman's life, which I did. I was running the other way when I heard her scream, and I went back and put my life in danger, and the angels protected me. I'm not telling this story to be, Mr. Bravado, and, I saved a woman's life, and the man who tried to kill me actually died with his own weapons. No, I'm saying that if you walk the path that I walk, you will have angels around you everywhere you go, and you will be protected like I was protected. I'm a 5'7" skinny man. He was a 6'2" big fat man, and he had the weapons, and he failed, and I prevailed. So I'll recount this and share this with the listeners, just so that they know, yes, there are great rewards from living this life, and the rewards are eternal and unlimited and unending. And there's only one way to restore your power that you once had, and that is through good living, not loose living. You cannot be loose. If your ethics are not right, you will suffer the consequences. I do this to encourage everyone. Not everyone will listen. Not everybody wants to. They're not ready. But one day they will be, and they will remember these words, and these words will keep them in good stead. So at the risk of my own reputation, sometimes I sound rather, forthright and bold. People don't like that, They get offended. Well, that's their business. I don't know them. And they can get offended as much as they want. I've offended many people, and those people have gone away and thought about it, and then come back to the very thing that offended them and realized that it was true, what I said about them. And they've come back to thank me, They've come back and said, look, I'm really thankful. You offended me once about veganism or, ejaculations or whatever it was. And I went away and I was cursing you and I was offended and I was offended. And now I realize, you were right, because it's not my opinion here. I'm very, very expressive when it comes to what I teach, because it's not my truth, it's the truth.
Yes.
And it's urgent, and I've had enough of the false teachers standing on their soapboxes, entertaining people and tickling their ears and leading them astray. I've had enough, and I'm not going to sit back, and I'm going to be a good shepherd. I'm Aryan. Aries people look after their flocks. They're good shepherds. They're good leaders. They are known to be leaders, and I have a Pisces moon, so I like to go fishing for men. And I have a Leo rising, so I have a courageous heart. So what am I going to do with these assets? Am I going to sit in a cave like a hermit and say, oh wow, I know syncretism, I know astrology, I can do yoga, I can practice white tantra, I'll just keep it to myself and bless me, and who cares about my brothers and sisters? Well, that's not me. I have a love for humanity. I don't necessarily love people, but I think humanity is a cause to fight for. Not humans per se. They're well, most people are really, they're just stupid and boring. But I love them, even though they're stupid and boring. But hey, that's who they are. They've lost their charisma because they lose their chrism. I like to keep my chrism because I want charisma, I want power, I want it fully restored, and I'm going to get it because that's what I'm looking for. That's the path I'm on. I'm not going to get off this path. It's hard. Jesus said, broad and spacious is the road leading to destruction, and many are on it. Narrow and cramped is the road leading to everlasting life, and few are the ones walking on it.
Mm.
And I found that to be very true, very, very few. And the ones who are deluded, who think they are just because they do yoga or astrology or, spagarics or alchemy, and and they think that, that one of these things is going to save them or give them health. Forget about it. Unless you do everything in syncretism and love and adore syncretism and speak about it every day, privately and publicly, and spread it throughout the earth, might as well just fart in the wind. They're just people farting in the wind, and it stinks. So that's why I'm here. I'm here to put sweet-smelling odors of truth in the air and get rid of this miasma of fart-smelling untruth that all of these half-cocked, half-witted, Mayavadi half-truthers are out there teaching. Eat meat, ejaculate, drink alcohol, take drugs, party on. All of these blasphemous half-truths that are satanic and leading people astray. I'm not gonna let that. I'm just not gonna just sit there and watch that. I'm going to be a shining light to all the good people out there, and I hope I will never let them down. I probably have with some of my antics and behaviour, but I also do that so that I can deter people from putting me on a pedestal, because the moment they do that, I will fall. Right. The moment they put me up and say, oh, Santos is the man, and blah, 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 and all that bullshit, I tell people, I'm not here. Don't you go following me, okay? The moment you do, I'll push you off and tell you to go and follow yourself. It's in you. The guru is in you, and I'm showing you how to find that guru. I don't want any praise from men. I'm seeking only glory from the heavens, and I will get it, and I have it, because I live a glorious lifestyle. It's glorious. All right, brother. So I think that's about it. We can do another one down the track. I'm happy to do one whenever you're ready, brother. Just sing out as you did, and yeah, I'll be there, always in service.
I definitely listen. I want to, it does say in scripture to let another man's lips praise you, and so I'm not putting you up on a pedestal. I will just touch on the fact that when I found you, Santos, I was actually heavily in the pastorate. I was going through school of ministry, and I was one of those ones that was offended when I heard you tying in other religions with the Bible, and but the truth, the light of the truth that shines through you, through your vessel, is actually what drew me back and kept me coming back um, to continue to seek out that truth that resonated so deeply that even though my mind was telling me this is a lie, my heart and the spirit of truth in me was declaring all things that you were speaking to me as truth. And so I want to encourage everybody that, when you find somebody like Santos, definitely give an ear, even if what he's saying doesn't resonate at the moment. Put it on the shelf and don't make a judgment until you've searched it and tested it against the spirit of truth, because that spirit of truth will declare all things unto you. And Santos, I do appreciate you sharing the story. Man, I am blown away. I know that you had said you had an incident last time we talked, but I didn't know the details of it, man. And that just does go to show that when you are walking in that light, you do have the legion of the angels of heaven surrounding you. And that number is so much greater than the forces that come against you. And so I want to just continue to just praise the heavens, man, for those of you that bring light um, at the expense of your own life, man. I know that you have literally laid down your own life to teach these things. And
Yep.
man, I can't thank you enough for that personally. And I can't thank you enough for giving me an hour, a little over an hour of your time, man. Time is the thing that it is an illusion, but it is one of the most precious things that we have here. And I love the way that you utilize it in reaching people, man. And I thank you for doing that here on my platform. And I look forward to having you back, man. There's a lot that we got to talk about, gematria, a lot more regarding these other spiritual practices, especially in the Christian church, that really point to a lot of the things that they teach against is actually what they're practicing. And so I love you, buddy, and I thank you so much for your time. And I definitely will be in touch even outside of the live streams and the podcast just to check in, see how you're doing, brother. You're an inspiration to a lot of us, bro. And I want to just thank you for that.
Thank you, Joseph. Take care, brother. We'll talk soon.
All right, buddy. You have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. So I did see some questions popping up in the chat. And I just wanted to say that, Santos did let me know that we were on a time limit today. We had about an hour, and man, thank you, Santos, for going over. I mean, he did this last time when we had technical difficulties on the live stream for Facebook, and he was so patient. That show was such a wreck regarding technical difficulties, and he was so patient and gave extra of his time in that time, and he did so today as well. And I know that the time goes fast, and that we try to get in as much information as we can in the time that we have together. And I know that what was talked about today will be beneficial. Theodore Christopher, I am so sorry that I didn't get to your question. Again, we were on a time crunch, and he actually had to step out about 15-20 minutes ago. He was going to be stepping out, and he hung with us for that much longer. And so I know I didn't get a chance to get to the gematria questions or to the questions regarding the field that we live in, the toroidal field, and the plane of existence, and just all of these things, the flat Earth, globe Earth, concave Earth. We're going to be talking about a lot of that with Santos in the future. He's definitely a dear brother that I love very much, and I feel very, very connected to him. And so, Theodora, we will get to that question. In fact, I'll be having him on soon again. He did, since we were on a time crunch, he did let me know that he'd be more than willing to come on very soon. And so hopefully next week or in the next week or two, we'd be able to have him back on. And if you have any questions, do me a favor, guys, email them to me. Hi, Jeannie. It's all right that you're late. You know what? We just wrapped up with Santos. Go back and watch the replay. And a lot of things were very, very, very crucial to touch on today regarding the spiritual aspect of where the world is at and where we're at as human beings. I mean, the time is here. It does come like a thief in the night, but we are given signs. And so one of the signs that Santos was pointing to is just, again, I mentioned nothing new under the sun, and he was talking about how we do go back to the matrix. We plug back in. We go back to the things that we've been shown are detrimental to our health, that are detrimental to our spiritual walk, and we return to them like dogs return to vomit. And so again, I think that a lot of the things that we touched on today were crucial and they were very important. And it was really just a springboard into so many things. Hi, Holy Rebellion of the Wise, Victoria, Jeannie, Theodora. But it is for all to understand, Theodora. And so we will get to, I don't want you to feel discouraged. We will get to your question. And again, if you guys have any questions for Santos for the next time I have him on, why don't you email me at walkinwisdom@gmail.com or joe.cisneros@yahoo. That's joe.cisneros@yahoo. And you can pose any questions that you have. If you're friends with me on Facebook, feel free to shoot me a Facebook Messenger message with any questions you might have for Santos, and I'll put them in a separate file. That way, next time I have him on, I'll post some questions from this show, including Theodora's. Theodora, your question will be the first question posed next time I have Santos on. I give you my word on that. And we will touch on that because that's actually something that I really want to get into with Santos, because he, with the astrology aspect of the things he teaches, this man is so on point with so many things, including where we're at on the cosmological clock and what we're counting down to or counting up towards. And so I just want to thank you guys for being here. And I want to let you know that some of you don't have me on Facebook and heard on John Keen's show that I'm sick. There is some things going on with my health, and so I am going to be making a video probably around noon today. I'm just going to take a little break and try and get something in my stomach and spend a little bit of time with my family. And then I'll jump back on and make a live stream talking about my health and some of the things that I'm facing and some of the things that how things are going to look moving forward and what you guys can do to help. And so I love you guys very much. And normally I like to try and go through the chat, but again, I've got to kind of get my day going and try and get some energy source in my body and get going. So I love you guys. Thank you for being active in the chat. Thank you for joining me. Look forward to another show with Santos. I will have him on again. And Santos, if you do catch this, end peace, man. I love you, buddy. And thank you so much for your time. I love you guys. And I will see you guys here in a couple of hours. Namaste.